Now it's time for the incredible story of a couple who crossed continents together and bonded over a shared love of coffee. They now have what's thought to be the only coffee cruiser in the UK, which they run together. I went to meet them.
A good cup of hot coffee. It's enough to solve many problems. But for this couple, it's so much more. Claire and Clive run a coffee business together out of this unique vehicle. But their heartwarming love story goes back an astonishing 40 years.
We met in 1977 here in the UK, down at Hamble, in Hamble Social Club actually, on New Year's Eve. I was 14 and Clive was 18, and we became a couple for 4 years. And then Clive's family wanted to emigrate to Australia, so obviously there was a choice to be made from me. Would I go? I was 18 by then, and my mum and dad said I could go if I wanted to. And being an 18-year-old girl and not brave enough, I stayed and he went.
The pair then went their own ways. In Australia, Clive got married and subsequently divorced. Meanwhile, in the UK, after one 12-year marriage, Claire met her second husband.
He was slightly older than me, and he retired and wanted to do a trip to Australia and said, "Shall we look your old boyfriend up?" Because I think he was intrigued.
But before the time of Facebook and social media, tracking Clive down was more tricky. Eventually, Claire found him via his sister on Friends Reunited. And the pair did reunite, thousands of miles away near Brisbane.
It all seemed a bit surreal, really, because it had been 25 years and...
Of nothing.
No contact at
all.
It was weird. And when I first saw them, it was like seeing an old friend. There wasn't any romantic notions in it at all. It was like seeing an old friend. And Dick, Claire's husband, was such a gentleman. He was such a fantastic, lovely person. And I could see they were both absolutely in love and happy, and I was very happy for her, and there was nothing from that I wasn't jealous of it, because to be honest, I was living the life of Riley.
But back in England, things took a bad turn for Claire.
My husband unfortunately got very ill, and I'd emailed Clive to say that he was not going to live because he got leukemia. He started with heart failure, which was bad enough in itself. He had that for a few years. And I gave up work. I was a trained florist at the time, and I gave up work to be at home and look after him. And I did really, in the end, become a 24-hour carer, really, bathing and helping and stuff. And then he was doing pretty good, and then he got lots of little silly infections and things, and he unfortunately got diagnosed with leukemia. And so we knew he was going to die, and he made me make all sorts of promises, one of which was to make him some flowers for his coffin in the shape of a V sign to stick up at people when he'd left. And he made me promise to live and love and be loved. And I was not in a good place and didn't want him to go, but I'd promised. And unfortunately he died 3 weeks after his diagnosis, and I'd emailed Clive obviously to tell you that he died and stuff, and it was all a very horrible, sad time. And then it turned out that over months and things we started to email, because Clive had kept me going through Dick's illness, because I would email him because I knew he was awake in Australia, and I could pour my heart out saying, I don't know what I'm going to do. He's going to die, and I love him so much, and and Clive kept me going really through emails, and I think he'd come to care and worry about me. And
eventually Clive decided to visit Claire in England, and after a period of globetrotting, the pair settled down in Hedge End.
He came back, and we fell in love all over again, basically.
I won't come back there to live, I said.
Yeah, he did.
And but I said if we were going to be a couple, all the emails and Skype calls are all very nice and it's all very romantic, but if we were going to be a couple, if there was something still for us, we needed to be in the same room together and find out whether it really was, whether it was real or not.
Yeah, it was like time had gone back, wasn't it? was like we were teenagers again. Unfortunately for the kids, they thought I'd gone mad. And in a way, it was although to a lot of people it seemed very quick after my husband dying, and I'd been with him nearly 20 years. I felt in the beginning that I was sort of betraying him. It almost felt like I was having an affair, although he was dead. But I also knew him very well, and I knew that he wanted me to get on with life. That's when we came up with the coffee idea, wasn't it? When I was in Australia, because Clive took me to a market one day and said, we'll get a coffee. And they had a full-on espresso machine on a table in a market, and I was really surprised, wasn't I? I mean, it was an everyday thing for Clive to see that, and I was like, wow, I've not seen that here.
The vehicle itself is impressive and unusual. It's a Toyota FJ Cruiser that the pair imported from Australia specially. They had it converted into the coffee-making beast you see today, which uses only gas and batteries.
Well, Clive was into the coffee first before I was. You've always liked a proper
I'd probably have had a coffee machine. Living in Australia, I had a coffee machine at home for the last 20 odd years.
It makes it difficult for us when we go around families' houses now, because nobody wants to make us a coffee, do they? So we have tea.
The Coffee Cruiser goes round a huge variety of local events. So if you spot it out, now you know there's a great bond behind their great blend. Charlotte Beeredney, that's Solent.